Yo, 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 what's up, Bitter Birds fam? It's been a minute since I've been on YouTube, guys. Just want to check myself back in. Great to be back. Great to be back watching sports and talking. Love it. How y'all doing? What a crazy week, too, though. The NFL is back. I've been waiting all year, especially with the Phillies really stinking it up. Uh, I left for Hawaii. They were up like 14 games. I come back, a little into September, and they're completely crapping the bed. But I'm here to talk about football. Baseball's in the past, but crazy week two, guys. Crazy week two. Another tie for the first time that's happened in week one and week two since 1971. Vikings and the Packers. What a shootout. And I'm wondering if Aaron Rodgers didn't have that messed up knee, if he would have torched that Viking secondary. I mean, they're definitely top three defense in the entire league, but I mean, we're talking Aaron Rodgers. I think he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. Then it would be Peyton Manning, Tom Brady tied for it. They've got their accolades, but he's just something on another level. Eagles, god damn, did they look bad yesterday. They got completely roasted. I mean, it is talent down there in Tampa Bay with their wide receivers. Deshaun Jackson, that was definitely a revenge game. He's never let go what happened when Chip Kelly was here. That's why he went to the Redskins and then roasted them for 170 yards and a touchdown. I mean, kid's got skills. He can run straight. He's got speed for days. Mike Evans. But look at Fitzpatrick, this Fitz magic crowd. I don't know what Tampa Bay is going to do when Jameis comes back, but you can't take him out of the helm right now just because Jameis is going to come off suspension. I mean, he has got that team cooking right now. Eagles defense, though, Jim Schwartz needs to really learn to make adjustments. I don't know why those corners were playing so far off of Mike Evans and O.J. Howard. This roasted them. I know they were doing it so they didn't hit the big play, but they did that the entire game. So, get a little bump and run going on. Mix up some blitzes. I know he doesn't like to do that either, but, I mean, they just got roasted. And I know you guys are all calling for Carson Wentz to come back. He's got to get this offense rejuvenated. Nick Foles, was that a little bit of magic and it was just meant to be last year? He's just hasn't looked in sync. We got banged up on the offensive line yesterday. I'm sorry. I'm not an Eagles fan. But, he lost Peters yesterday. Vitae came in. It's just that defensive line was eating up the Eagles' offensive line. What else to touch on? Andrew Luck and Deshaun Jackson coming back off of horrendous injuries. It looks like it's going to take them a little while. Deshaun Watson, I should say, has looked a little rusty. Coming off that ACL injury. It's going to take him a little while, but they lost again to the Titans and Blaine Gabbert. What has happened to that Texans defense? They've added the Honey Badger out there. They got nice young talent. J.J. Watt's coming back off of injury. I expect them to be a lot better, actually. I've got them in fantasy, too. So I'll be dropping them. They've looked bad the past 2 weeks. They haven't done nothing for me on my fantasy team. So, yeah, they're beat. And the game of the week, my team just looked so good yesterday. I know it's only week two, but that was revenge for the AFC Championship game. They own Tom Brady and Blake Bortles. I got to give credit to that man. He's worked in the offseason. He's still got a little bit of mechanical failures, but he really showed up yesterday, especially with that Leonard Fournette being there. Everybody, next man up. They lost Cam Robinson for the year. He tore his ACL. Wells came in and stepped in nice at the left tackle position. And Corey Grant, man, I really wish Doug Marrone would get this cat a lot more touches. I think he's a lot more versatile than TJ Yeldon. But I could sit here and talk Jags for days. Gronk didn't do anything against Jalen Ramsey, so he backed up that mouth. So it was good to see it. I definitely think the Jags have the best defense. Go along with the Rams. They cooked the Cardinals. I'm not even going to talk about that game. I don't know what they're doing down there. Wilkes needs to kick Sam Bradford off and just put Rosen in there. You can't do any worse than a rookie quarterback. Sam Bradford is a joke. And then we got the matchup tonight. I think it's going to be good. And I know John Gruden's got to be kicking himself for that trade. I didn't really get to put my input on that, but I thought that was a desperation trade, really, for the Bears. Ryan Pace to really, make a big splash and get a Hall of Fame defensive end in there to add to that pass rush. Now, the Bears' defense is what they really have to lean on. But you give all those picks up for Trubisky, and then you're giving all these picks up now. I think you could have better utilized those picks in the up and coming years to add to that offense to help out Trubisky. But you're just giving them up for, no doubt, Khalil Mack is a stud player that you're never really going to be able to find, maybe not in the draft again. But, I mean, that was a steep price, and he's already, 27 years old? So by the time they're possibly competing, I mean, he's going to be, 30, 31. But, and the Raiders, dude. I mean, Gruden. Another tough loss. I mean, that first game, Derek Carr looked awful, but they really needed a pass rush yesterday to really get to the Broncos, and they just couldn't generate anything. Bruce Irvin they got right there. You don't let a Hall of Fame player like Khalil Mack leave without trying to work something out, without calling him. I don't know if that's Gruden's arrogance, but you did pay 10 years, or him a contract for 10 years, $100 million, so I don't know if that's a whole ego thing, wanting to pay Mack, or he's literally just trying to rip it down and get all his type of guys in there. He's an old school kind of coach, so they're competing for what they have, but something's going to happen with that defensive line out there in Oakland. Matt could have really helped them out in those first two games, especially yesterday when they just drove down the field and kicked that, last remaining field goal. But tonight, I think we're going to make a good matchup. You got the Bears defense going against the crafty Russell Wilson, who's definitely a top 5 quarterback in my eyes. It's going to be running for his life again. They've tried to shore up that offensive line, but it's going to take a while. They made the same mistake as the Colts by not building up that offensive line. So the kid's scrambling for days. LOB days are gone. Richard Sherman departed, went to San Fran. Cam Chancellor retired. And Earl Thomas is looking to get traded to go to Dallas, possibly. So they can't really lean on that defense anymore. If I was them, you have Russell Wilson, but when do you look at it and see, tear this down and trade him and try to get as much as possible? You don't have a consistent running back. Doug Baldwin is injured, who's your best wide receiver. And you literally have nothing, so I don't see them really competing. That's the Rams division, for the next couple of years. They are really cooking. I mean, that is a scary team. Sean McVay is a genius. He works well with Jared Goff. They got Brandon Cooks in the offseason in that trade. A versatile guy that can go all over the field, speed. They lost Sammy Watkins, but you got Cooper Kupp. Todd Gurley, best running back in the league. So, just a lot to talk about, guys. Just wanted to talk about a couple games this week. And what I meant in the title is the NFL showing their hand with all these bull crap penalties. There was a ton in the Eagles game yesterday, and I've just noticed the past 2 weeks, what are you going to do with this helmet-to-helmet crap where the defenders can't hit low, they can't hit high? What can they do? Do you just not want them to tackle at all? I mean, it's an absolute joke. And they need to change something with the PI, because in the new NFL, all you have to do is just chuck it up in the air, and that flag's going to come out. You can just gain yards by going deep every time. Get 40 to 50 big chunk yards that way. I mean, it's a joke. Even the refs don't even know what a catch or a penalty is anymore. It's a disgrace, and I always say to myself every year, I'm going to stop watching the NFL, because they're ruining the game by having all these penalties, not letting defenders play at all. That's what I love about football. It's the physicality, it's the violence. I get trying to protect the players, but they knew what they signed up for when they were playing in the NFL, when they wanted to go pro. That's why they get paid millions of dollars, okay? So, I mean, come on. You got to figure something out. Maybe change it to where you want to have it 15-yard penalty, but for it to be a spot foul, no. And there's been a lot of questionable calls with roughing the passer. Last week when, I forget what quarterback it was, he literally just got shoved with 2 hands, and it was a freaking pass interference. You can't even touch the quarterback anymore. At this rate, Tom Brady's going to be playing until he's 55 years old. Troy Aikman made a joke about it, and he said he'd probably still be playing if he had the rules that Tom Brady and the rest of the quarterbacks had. But, so other than that, with all the spot fouls and all the, get down, Bella, and all that other stuff, it's been a crazy week. I've enjoyed some games. Thursday Night Football, I always love that too. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but that was a good game between the Bengals. How about them? Do you think Marvin Lewis is going to get kicked out and get past it? Oh, one more thing I just wanted to talk about. How could I even forget about Patrick Mahomes? This kid is unbelievable. But this situation kind of reminds me of when Andy Reid drafted Donovan McNabb. Okay, you got a big arm quarterback to go in your system, West Coast offense. They like to fling it up and down the field, but he looks really poised for what he has. You've got the two speedsters on the outside. You've got Kelsey to eat up the middle. I mean, this offense is completely cooking right now. And sorry, guys, I'll be getting to your questions in a second. I see them firing off. I just want to get a couple initial points off. But the first quarterback to have 10 touchdowns within the first 2 weeks. I mean, I went against him and Kelsey yesterday in fantasy, and they completely roasted me. So it really sucked, but it was a joy to watch. That Pittsburgh game was fun. But Patrick Mahomes is an up-and-coming star. He looks unbelievable. But that gunslinger mentality, again, Andy Reid's offense fits him perfectly like it did with McNabb. They're going to be a scary offense. And Tyreek Hill is one of the most versatile wide receivers. He's climbing up there. He could be one of the best receivers, if not the best, by the end of this year. Nobody can cover him. His breaks, the way he gets off the line, he's so quick, agile, and he just doesn't go straight like a lot of speedsters do. He goes across the middle. He's shifty. You can use him in a ton of ways. Now, I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm kind of old. So I remember the X Factor they had there in Dante Hall in 03. And he kind of reminds me of him, but 10 times better because he can actually play the wide receiver position. Dante Hall really never could. They tried to use him in that offense back in 03 and 04, he was unbelievable with kick returns, but they don't let them do that anymore in the NFL. But this kid, you can use him in a multitude of ways. He is complete fire. And that offense might be, averaging freaking 42 points a game as the weeks go on. Just crazy to see. And Pittsburgh, I know Le'Veon's laughing, but they just give him his money and trade him. Get rid of that. If he gets traded, imagine if he went to Green Bay, if they traded for him. They have 2 first-round picks. Just let that sink in to go with that offense and Aaron Rodgers. That's like the missing piece for them. Their defense is complete trash. They're young, though, so it will take some time for them. But remember the high-scoring Colts and Saints. They could just blow everybody out. I would reach out to them, especially with the new GM they have. They don't have Ted Thompson anymore. Old school guy, didn't really like to trade for big players. Well, their new GM likes to wheel and deal. So I would reach out to them, get that extra first-round pick, offer it for Le'Veon Bell. He's in his prime right now. Get him to go with that offense. It'd be scary to compete with them Chiefs. So, I've, talked for the last 10 minutes without breathing. Questions. I'll take some questions now. What have you all been saying? I apologize. How you all been liking it? Oh, man, I've been having all these questions. I haven't answered them. I wasn't trying to be rude. I just like to do the questions after, I've gotten my thoughts out there. But, here we go. Also, Macklin costs nothing in trade, just a contract. So, Jason, I didn't see your initial questions. Are you saying you want Macklin on... Who is your team, by the way? Are you talking for the Eagles? Are you an Eagles fan? Is Macklin even on a team? Isn't he a free agent? I didn't even think he was on the team. On the Eagles. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if you guys watched Adrian's video earlier, but the Browns... He ain't playing. I don't think he is playing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is a free agent. Yeah, they could reach out to him, but it would have been crazy if they would have reached out to get Josh Gordon. You lost Mike Wallace. He could potentially be out for the rest of the season. You don't want to rely on Kamar Aiken. Nelson Aguilar has been a stud. You still got Zach Ertz. Also, Jeffrey will be coming back in the next couple weeks. But to get another big body like Josh Gordon, it cost a 5th-round pick. They should have inquired about him, how he needed to land Gordon. I'm very surprised. That's a typical Patriots move. They take the troubled player, and then he'll come in and have, one of his best seasons. He's always had the talent, but he's been stuck in Cleveland for so long. No wonder he was on drugs. Can you blame the guy? I mean, that team hasn't won a freaking game since 2016. They're cursed. They should have won week 1. They blew it last week with the field goal. They missed it. And then again, this kicker mixed an extra point and they lose. I would get rid of that kicker and go get Dan Bailey if I was Cleveland. But at least they're competing now. Their defense is a nice building block. Drug issues, cancer though. For who? Big. They suspected him of being on drugs at the facility. That's why they got rid of him. He's had drug issues over his career. We all know that. So that was the final straw for them. Oh, you're saying he's a cancer in the locker room. If he was on a winning organization, maybe it just takes a change of scenery. Again, he's been on Cleveland his entire career. What wouldn't cause you to want to do drugs? Think about that. They suck. They're a pit. They're a black hole. And my apologies to any Cleveland Brown fans out there, because they are a diehard fan base. But good God, enough is enough. That city has struggled just as much as Philadelphia has with their championships, and Chicago. Just, they have something though. I like Hugh Jackson. They have a building block on that defense. That defense is really nice and up and coming. Baker Mayfield, I wasn't crazy about. I think they should have took Saquon Barkley, but that is yet to be seen. When is he going to come onto the field? We don't know. Tyrod's done an okay job. I really see him as like a game manager, really, and Tyrod. But I'm not all about throwing a rookie into the fire right away because it messes with their career. But Cleveland became the Ravens and won a Super Bowl. Imagine that. If Bill Belichick didn't get fired and they didn't move, they had Ozzie Newsome, they had Bill Belichick, they could have had Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis. They would have had a couple. Do you think Dez will ever play in the NFL? I think so. It might take a while. Depends where he wants to go and meeting up with his contract disputes. I know he wants to get paid big money, but he's not that receiver anymore. We are thin at wide receiver and running back. Big Fish, are you an Eagles fan as well? Because I think they're okay at running back. They're very deep there. And my receiver, now with the injuries, they're a little bit thin. Hey, I'm not FedQ, F. Petros. That's Adrian. I'm Kyle. Yeah, Eagles, I think you're a little thin at the wide receiver spot. That's why I would have reached out and got Josh Gordon. Just because of all the injuries you've had. Mac Hollins, Alshon Jeffrey, obviously. But Gordon would have made a lot of sense unless they just didn't feel confident about him being... Yeah, I'm not FedQ. It's all good. What's up, Vester? Hey, Kyle, FedQ, what's up, Sean? What's up, brother? Good to be back. But, it would be interesting to see what they go from here, or who's in the free agent market, or do they possibly wheel and deal on how he does some magic and works out a trade. But getting Josh Gordon here would have been perfect. Imagine Jeffrey and him on the outside. You would have had him to rely on if he gets his drugs issues straightened out. But going to a winning organization is going to change his whole attitude, I guarantee you. And it's just a perfect move, especially because they did this with Randy Moss, if you remember. He was having issues, struggling. He was on a bad team. And look, they put up historic numbers. They almost matched what the Miami Dolphins did back in the 70s by having a perfect season. But if it wasn't for the Giants and Eli Manning, people were hyping Josh Gordon, 16 The kid's a beast, Jason. We're creating space for Freddie. Yeah, Freddie Mitchell. He's a screw. That's funny, Sean. If we can't get Dez or Coleman. I don't like Corey Coleman. But now with Mike Wallace out, he could be your deep threat because that's all he can do. I got tickets to the Phillies, Rockies. Yeah, get rid of those. But for Corey Coleman, he wasn't asked to do a lot in Baylor. They run a basic system down there with their wide receivers. It's basically a lot of go routes, a lot of posts. It's like 4 routes that they run. He doesn't know how to run routes. It's a typical, and I thought it was funny that Cleveland drafted him because he had big numbers in college, and that's what they do a lot. And they thought he fit the systems. He doesn't know how to run routes. He can go straight. So if he can come in here and just use his speed, utilize his speed, since that's all he can do anyway, I would take a flyer on him. But if you're asking him to do anything other than that, I wouldn't rely on him so much. You'd still need another wide receiver to go out there and get. Seriously, guess Braxton Miller moves up from the practice squad. Again, you're looking at a guy who's a quarterback, tried to switch positions when he came into the NFL. They asked Lamar Jackson to do that, and he stuck to his guns. I thought a lot of people said Vic should have done that. But not everybody can convert. Look what the struggles Terrell Pryor has gone through. He had that decent season with Cleveland because he was the only option, and has barely been able to stay on a roster ever since. It's hard to do. It's not as easy as it looks. That's why when Hines Ward did it, Randall L., a lot of props to them. Those guys were all pro receivers. No Jeffrey, no Hollins, no Mike Wallace. We need a wide out, and we're done. They need to make a move. That's why I thought bringing in Gordon would have been perfect. But they missed out on that, so where do they go from here? You've got Corey Coleman sitting out there. Des Bryant is still out there. I don't know if they can come to some sort of terms, but you got to get somebody in here just to get depth. Kyle, I hate to do this to you, but what, right, the Phillies or what? I don't even want to talk about the Phillies right now, Sean. Devontae Adams, they're not getting rid of him. Joe Douglas deserves more credit. Joe Douglas is a stud. A 5th-round pick for Devontae Adams? Nah, that could have been two different people. No, please. You don't want Dez? You think he's a cancer, too? Might be a cancer, but you offer him, like, I don't know, $4 million to come in here and be a red zone threat and get your first down, he could do that. He's your best option. I'd take him over Corey Coleman. Oh, I know. Larry Fitzgerald, I feel so bad for that guy. Make an offer to the Cardinals. He needs to get... They are probably the second worst team behind Buffalo right now. He needs to get out of there, at least compete for a championship. He's going underutilized out there. Yeah, T.O.'s always looking to come back. That's funny. Him to Philly, how did Howie do? Things changed as soon as Joe got here. Joe Douglas came from that Ravens system, you know? Learned under Ozzie, who I think's the best GM to ever live. Guy's unbelievable. $6 million. Yeah, he turned it down because he wants big money. He wants big wide receiver money. He's asking too much. He still thinks he's, you know, the X factor out there. You know, like he was putting up 14 touchdowns, like he was in the beginning of his career. He's not going to get that type of money. I still think Larry Fitzgerald can play. He had over 100 catches last year. Yeah, the guy keeps in shape. He's unbelievable. First ballot Hall of Famer. I would inquire. Get him off that team. Utilize his talents here. I mean, he is 34, going to 35 years old, but he can still do it. Miami's retarded. Give us Jay. Let's steal Devontae. Devontae, he stinks. Devontae Parker. I thought you said Devontae Adams at first. I wouldn't take Parker. He's a scrub. Joe Thomas, he doesn't really have a choice if he's traded. Bring J-Mac or J-Mac back. Fitzgerald's a good run blocker. He's a good everything. He can go across the middle. He's a number 1 wide receiver still at 34 years of age. See, with the Cardinals, they're rebuilding right now, so they should listen to any trade offers. You look at him and David Johnson. David Johnson's having an awful year because they can't get anything going. He would retire. He already said, yeah, he's going to retire next year, no doubt about it. And I hate to see that because he's one of my favorite players. Love Fitzgerald since he came in the league. He almost won that Super Bowl if it wasn't for the freaking Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger, but that's neither here nor there. He's from Pennsylvania, went to Pittsburgh. Let's see if Joe Thomas can work some magic. That'd be dope to get him here, to go with this offense in Carson. What's up, LT? I'm not a Birds fan, actually, but what's up? Why would we not give Macklin a look? You could give Macklin. I mean, I don't see why not. I know he wanted to come back here. They kind of left off on a bad foot, but he holds no grudges about that. Try at this point, the Eagles could bring anybody in just to get depth and competition here until the big boys come back. I don't know. It's a rumor, but Alshon is due back next week. I don't know if they're going to rush him, but him and Wentz are supposed. Who do I like? I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan since 1995. Yes, sir. And I'm Philly born and raised. Culture really more important than talent? No, it's not, LT. Do you think the Dolphins would make another trade with giving us Parker? I don't think so, but I don't know why they would want Devontae Parker. He stinks. He can't run routes. He's a bum. Yeah, put that big guy out there. That would be hilarious. Am I sold on Bortles? You know, it's funny. During that draft, I really wanted Khalil Mack, but I wasn't upset that they drafted Bortles because we needed a quarterback. I didn't think Mack would be there back in 14. But when he was, I really wanted them to take Mack. They didn't, but I'm okay with Bortles. He's been very inconsistent over the years. He's worked on it. He's hot and cold. He's worked on a lot of his mechanics over the offseason. I've noticed that in the first two games. So I'm okay with what he's getting paid and what he's been able to do because he's shown that he can take an offense down the field per as of yesterday. And even when he played against the Giants, he didn't play too bad. You know, he's got wide receivers. As long as he's got time. When you put him under pressure and you blitz him, he gets frantic and he makes mistakes very easily. That's his only issue. Kyle, what's your feeling on the Bills cornerback return? Yeah, that was crazy. I think he just wants to play for a real team. He knows that Buffalo's going nowhere. They're the worst team in football right now. And he just chalked it up. He said, I'm done. I'm walking out on this team. But if he was to play for, like, say, the Patriots or somebody else, the Eagles or whoever, a team that was going to compete for a Super Bowl, I think Vontae Davis would come back. He's a good corner. What is he, 30 years old, 31? He's still got plenty of, maybe 3 years left. But he said, I ain't playing for Buffalo. I'm done. This team's a joke. But, yeah, Blake Bortles, I think he performed fantastic yesterday, especially with our best player being out in Fournette. It all fell on his shoulders. And Nathaniel Hackett called a perfect game for him. So there was a couple questionable throws that Blake did. They got picked off. But he came back. He wasn't gun shy. So he's learned from his mistakes. So I think Blake Bortles could lead the Jags with what they have now to win a Super Bowl. Yes, to answer your question. How about Aaron Rodgers, dude? Did anybody watch that Week 1 game? Unbelievable. Vontae's reasoning was somewhat justified. If he said about personal performance is true, but leaving during the game, that is disrespectful. I don't know. A team will take him regardless of what he did. No way what, Wayne Watson. Because you look, Michael Kendrick's got a job again. I'm not removing my Phillies hat, man. It's not like I'm a Dallas fan. Or is it because I don't want to talk about the Phillies? But, yeah. So actually, the Monday night game's getting underway. I just want to come in here and give my thoughts about Week 2. You know, it was fun talking with you guys. I would love to be doing this week to week. I think I might be doing that. I might be talking a little fantasy football, too, even though my teams aren't doing so hot. Does Kapler just throw darts in the morning for a lineup? Yeah, Kapler is so lost. You are in morning. Kapler is so lost in what he's doing right now, changing. He's overthinking everything. Now he looks like a rookie manager now. He went from possibly being manager of the year to not knowing what the hell he's doing. He's flustered. He's lost. He doesn't know what to do. He's overthinking everything. I think he just needs to take a step back, reassess the season, because if he just would have stuck to the winning formula like we were and not switching every day, we would possibly be watching October right now. Some baseball. Some baseball playoffs. Postseason in October is not going to be happening now, but Monday night's about to get underway, guys. I want to catch this game. Love talking football with y'all. And I'll be back. This is KG on Bitter Birds discussing some football. Week 2. Go Jags, go Eagles. Let's hopefully the Eagles have a better outing against the Colts next week. Got to get to Andrew Luck, baby. All right, I'm out. Peace.